Where are we?
I don't think we're in Oz anymore.
Hey, I'm Ryan J.
And I'm Tori Calamito.
And we are thrilled to introduce you to the Emmy-winning producers and creators of Lost in Oz, which is a new animated series of The Wizard of Oz for a new generation, all available to stream now on Amazon Prime Video.
It's an unbelievably binge-worthy show. Gripping, you can't stop watching it. My daughter Rosa and I have enjoyed it at least 10 times start to finish, not even kidding.
You got me beat there, Tori, but I'm also obsessed with it. So I'd like to introduce you to Jared Mark, Darren Mark, and Mark Warshaw. Now, you guys, are you all related, or what's with the name Mark?
Only people with the name Mark can work on this show. Darren, Mark, and I are brothers, and we grew up with Mark Warshaw since we were little kids making VHS movies in the backyard, and never quite stopped. And we should say that our fourth partner, Abram Makauka, it's almost Mark, it's Makauka, couldn't be here today, but sends his best and his love and his genius with all the work we've done together.
It's fantastic. So how intentionally did you guys really appeal to all ages, not skew too young or too old? You got to walk that fine line. How did you accomplish that with the series?
That's a great question. We started not in the kids' business, not in the kids' entertainment storytelling world. We love it. We all shared a collective joy around all those, those kind of shows. But we mostly came from more adult live action when we all came together. So when we had this opportunity to do Lost in Oz, we brought a lot of our references that we love to the show, the things that we like to watch to the show, but at the same time, catered it to 6 to 11-year-olds. And I think that's what kind of brought everybody into the mix, because we really wanted to see, especially when we're making something that's binge worthy, right? Like you mentioned, Vicky, it's like the idea we took inspiration from shows like Game of Thrones and The Wire, things we were watching that we all love, and say, okay, what's the cliffhanger that's going to get us excited to keep on going with the story and deeper down the, into the tornado and down the rabbit holes.
As Mark said, really binging these incredible epic shows with big sprawling universes and ever-growing casts. And we thought, what a great template for a kids show, for a family show. I shouldn't say a kids show, a family show. And we wanted that feeling that I can't wait to watch the next episode and what's going to happen next. And that feeling you really get from a chapter book or a book series like the Oz series, where you get to the end of the chapter and you just can't wait to get to the next one. And so that's the real feel we try to establish and keep going throughout the episodes.
Cool.
And we grew up in that time where like everyone had a certain place that they would sit in the family room when they watched together as their family. We had great nostalgic feelings for that. So to be able to make a show that was able to do that was a great challenge and something super exciting for us.
We've got to get Dorothy and Toto out of there.
Okay, what's our plan?
How did each of you come to Oz in your individual lives? How did you all become Oz fans?
For me personally, I came through it, I think Darren as well, through the movie, through the MGM film. That was the entry point, and continues to inspire. But when we discovered the books a little bit later, it just opened up just a vast story world that felt like a never-ending story-generating playground.
As Oz fans then, and you have a background in more live action and more contemporary or adult themed programming, how did you come to create this series in particular?
We had someone who was working with us who was one of our assistants who moved over to Amazon and became a creative executive over there. And they wanted to create an Oz show. And she knew from when she was working with us that as a team, we were kind of obsessed with the concept of Oz and how Oz, we come from a place where we look at how TV shows or movies can also spin out into other platforms, and how do they tell stories over all these different platforms. And we've looked at what Baum did and how he was basically the originator of that concept, from his stage plays to making his own movie studios to calling himself the Royal Geographer of Oz. Like, that was just so beautiful to us. And so if you look at the world around us and how entertainment was going. And we're, I'm in particular is fond of building worlds or working with worlds, and not, I think Bond made one of the greatest worlds to play and tell stories in of all. So that was something that we had our eye on. And so when Monica Dennis, who was our creative executive at Amazon, left our company and went to work at Amazon, she called us up one day and said, guys, they want to make an Oz show here. You got to come in and pitch it to us. Give us an idea what you want to do. And so we locked the doors. We left our phones out and we just sat there for a couple of weeks, just dreaming about what we could turn this show into. And we were lucky enough that they said yes and went on a big fun journey telling the show.
You're a munchkin?
I'm big for my age.
And then you win some Emmys. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. What an achievement.
Thank you.
A lot of Oz productions are musicals, and this certainly has tons of wonderful musical elements, great hooks and whistles and all kinds of wonderful things. Did you guys ever consider making this into a musical?
I think that I personally come from a live theater background, and so I love musicals, and it's in my blood for sure. And I think we have one musical number in an episode Darren wrote. But yeah, we certainly had ideas of doing that. I should say that our incredible musical component of the show is Adam Berry, an absolute genius of a composer who became such a valuable asset to the team and a real partner on the project, where our favorite days were sitting in his incredible studio, which is, I should say, filled with crystal balls and instruments from around the world that you couldn't even imagine seeing before. And we would tell him some whacked out idea that we were dreaming up, and he would just have the right sound for it. And that, I should say, every artist that worked on this show, something that we really tried to foster was this sense of a team and a family around this show, and the idea that the hand of the artist was something we wanted to emphasize and really feel. And so you'll see that from everything from the textures of the characters themselves have, like, it's computer generated animation, but it still has thumbprints on it. It still has the handmade quality to it. And we wanted that for the music, for the sense of ensemble of the acting. We wanted that for really everything throughout.
But Oz has been animated before. We saw the 1990 Deke animated series that was on Saturday mornings. There was also the 1970s movie Journey Back to Oz, which featured Liza Minnelli in the role as Dorothy and Margaret Hamilton as Aunt Em. Did you guys look to any other Oz animated TV or film, or any even live action other Oz adaptations to influence this at all?
Not so much. We really wanted to keep our eyes focused on creating something that was completely brand new and original.
We are not in Kansas anymore.
We actually steered away from doing that, other than the books. We really wanted the books to be the canon. Obviously, we had all seen the film numerous times, so that it's hard to not make that something that's an important reference. And it also was important in the creation of the show, because you can take inspiration from the books and utilize elements of the books, but you can't from the movie. So we had to have a real keen eye on the movie, but we really wanted to create a brand new experience, all its own for this generation.
So can I just follow up then? When you do that, and you're not looking to other things, you're just kind of taking the inspiration from the books, do you just kind of allow your animators to have complete creative freedom, or do you weigh in with them also? And is it fun to kind of create what Dorothy and the Scarecrow are going to look like for your series?
That was the best part to me. That was super fun. We had an incredible art director. His name is Stephen Donnelly, out of this studio called Access Studios in Scotland. And so we paired up with him really early on, and that team really early on, to create the visual look and feel of the show.
And we're clear.
Wonderful! Hooray, that was amazing!
There was a lot of iterations getting to where we went, but we always wanted to feel like we actually started with the idea, let's make this a stop motion animation series. that shows you how much we didn't know about animation when we got into this thing, because we're like, we're gonna make this big epic Oz show with stop motion animation. They're like, you're crazy. So
It'll take
hard to
100
do for kids.
years.
Yes, it's not gonna happen. Well, how do we make it look as close as we can to that? And that's where we started. And then, built out with Steven and his team and great designers from there. It took a whole team and a lot of iteration to get to where we wanted to go. But we wanted to make it feel like it was a lived-in world. We wanted you to feel like it wasn't just pure magic, like it was a place you could go to, and it was actually a real kind of realm to go to. So, and then there's just iteration. And then what we did is, after we had the concept art and the character designs and the environmental designs, we worked with our team in Japan, the animation studio Polygon Pictures, and ARC Studios in Canada before that, to really get the look and feel when it came out to the animation.
Speaking to that point about, the immersive nature of the Emerald City as a place, it just feels so palpably real. Did you guys sit down and map out the city beyond normal storyboarding? How did that world come about?
We literally made a map. We made a map, and we thought, what would it look like if we took the original maps, like the ones that you would find probably in the Oz fan universe right now, or some stuff that you might find in a book, and where the lands that we all know and love are. And then the thought was, okay, take the original Emerald City, we put that right in the middle, and then what would it look like if it expanded out and started to kind of urban sprawl more or less across those other lands and start to incorporate them in. And so we just did actually concentric circles out of the original Emerald City to create a map. And that helped us, helped us sort of figure out. I mean, when Dorothy gets there, she opens up her journal and the map magically appears. So we needed a map anyway for that. And it just sort of helped orient us and allows for the writing team to get together and kind of think through where we're going to send Dorothy on her journeys.
So you guys, I see the Pearl of Pingaree. We've got Betsy Bob in Central Park. There's so many wonderful Oz Easter eggs in this series. Who was your real bomb source for the material here?
I can speak to that. So early on, as we all did our professional deep dive into the books, instead of just for pleasure and joy throughout our earlier lives, we created what became known internally as the Ozopedia, which was this epic volume of information that we were able to pull from the book. So as we were all sitting down and writing, and we had other staff helping us out, as we were sitting down and rather digesting all the canon materials, we have this epic list of all the characters and their most interesting attributes, all the places and the little quirks and oddities of them, as well as props and then story beats and anything we thought could be material that could be adapted for our show. And when we were at a spot where we just maybe didn't know what Dorothy's next move was, or wanted something really interesting to fill in a background spot, we would all dive into the Ozopedia and find something fun, and then make sure it worked with the themes and the arcs and the story movements of the episode, and start lacing the stuff in.
I love that. I think Tori and I would really appreciate it if you would make a copy of that and stick it in the mail and send it to us.
It's about that thick.
It was our ultimate tool in making sure that we stayed true to the books, and then found opportunities to elevate or spin off into new and interesting modern directions.
Was it difficult to just find that balance of wanting to hit the beats of the original story, but also including new themes and the classic Oz themes?
It could be difficult at times for sure, but I think because of the richness of the world and the characters that Baum put on the page, it felt more like we had so many springboards to choose from, that oftentimes it was more about just whittling down our selections and finding the focal point. And then from there, it was, it didn't feel too difficult, I have to say. I mean, we were there till 4 a.m. many nights in our office above a carniceria in East Hollywood, just grinding it out and finding the right stuff. But But a lot of times, and I'd say more often than not, it was once we started rolling, it was getting it down so that we could fit it into the half-hour time slot.
Like we mentioned before, one of the really, I think, useful and fun elements of our storytelling was never trying to reinvent anything, but rather take everything that's existed before and use it as like really rich soil to grow out of. And so, one of the things that we constantly went back to is really from the original book of this idea that Dorothy's mission is to get home. And at the core of every scene of every episode is really that idea. That's the central goal is from, Dorothy is trying to get home. And so, along the way, she meets and decides to help all these other people, but there's always that sense of getting home and the obstacles that get in that way. And so constantly anchoring it to that concept of home. And if you really dive in and sort of dissect it, I think every single character is dealing with that concept of what does home mean? What does it mean to get home? What does it mean for a sense of home to change over time? Finding community when you're as far away from home as you could possibly be. And so we found ourselves really, yes, diving into the canon, thinking about all those things, but also thinking about things like a kid moving to a new city and starting life in a new school or a new country, or a family upending their lives and going to the other side of the world. And what does it mean to be as far out of your comfort zone as possible and yet find a community in that new world that makes it feel like home? And so I think constantly grounding everything in that concept let us get as fantastical as we wanted to be, because it always was kind of like grounded in that fertile soil.
Well, you totally accomplished that. It's amazing. How involved were you or not in the casting of the voice actors?
100%.
Very much so.
Yeah,
Eric,
we should
take
say
it
that.
away.
Well, it's worth a shot.
Perfect.
Dorothy is a scrappy young girl. She's smart. We can do this. Kind and compassionate.
She never needs to be saved. If anything, she's the one that's doing the saving.
Dorothy is going to be a great role model for kids to look up to.
We were so fortunate to work with the incredible Sue Blue, who is a legend in the animation world and just the best person you could ever meet. And she cast the show and with her partner Tanya, and I got to be right by her side for every one of those decisions, as well as for every cast recording session. We were all deeply involved with those, and it's really just the most fun thing we could ever do. We were so lucky to build this core ensemble of incredible voice talents that could play multiple characters. And so it was, coming from theater and from an improvisation background where it was a playground. It was so much fun to have all these microphones set up. As much as possible, we tried to do ensemble records, so we're all in the same room doing it like a radio play, people switching voices mid-scene, and it was just an absolute joy. And Sue Blue is a true genius and so much fun.
So I know from my perspective as a hardcore Oz fan, this has just touched me so deeply. I just adore this show. But what's been the response from general fans? Like, how have you guys received responses so far?
Been, I guess you could say, overwhelmingly wonderful to see the reactions. We were on Amazon to start with, and I think the time when we launched the show was a unique situation. If you might remember that Amazon was publicly screening their pilots, so people had to basically, in a way, vote with their comments if they liked this pilot or not. And I personally just remember the very first night that we launched and starting to read the comments and just sort of where the way people were responding, we couldn't have written it better ourselves. The fact that they were watching it and that they were watching it with their kids, they would turn something on and then start to walk out of the room and then get captured and sit back down with their kids. And then the teenager would come around and sit down and watch it with them. So I think from the family viewing perspective, it was really positive and beautiful to feel. And I think we've also had a lot of unexpected fan reaction that was unintended but beautiful to see. You know, a lot of children on the spectrum have responded really well to the show, which was a wonderful wonderful byproduct of what had happened. And again, just the young and the old. You know, we're really pleased that Oz fans, hardcore Oz fans, that we feel like we passed that test because we really wanted to honor all the great work that came before. And then just the new kids who've never been exposed, but then going off and deciding to go read the books because they saw the show. That's just joyous.
I remember when it first launched, because I think I was there waiting to see it and watching it. I left those comments to Amazon too, because I wanted to see more. And meanwhile, you never know all along as you're working on a program like this, or really when you're doing anything, how it's going to be received. So it's one thing to get the response from the fans, but then the Emmys, you won Outstanding Children's Animated Program, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing. You were nominated for Best Casting, Best Writing. You got to tell us what that experience is like.
It was mind-blowing. I remember we were in the midst of a cast record when we got the news that we got those nominations. And we were middle of a scene, Dorothy and Ojo are going back and forth. And I remember just as soon as that take was over, hitting the little button and saying, guys, we were just nominated for an Emmy for Best Animated Series. Back to work. And we kept going. And then suddenly, nope, I'm sorry, we got 5 nominations and we could not believe it. I mean, just bouncing off the walls. And it's, you know, like we said before, this started off with just the 4 of us, you know, with Abram as well, sitting around this table and with these books and the love for this and the idea of what this could be. And to have that small family grow to a family of hundreds, literally around the world, working 24 hours a day, depending on where the sun is. And then to get, you know, recognized for that is something we obviously never set out to do, but man, it's a really nice high five to receive.
It was a testament to the passion people brought to the project. Again, like Jared said, we never sat down and said, we're going to make an Emmy, win Emmys from this show, but we're going to put our heart and soul into it. And the long nights and the working through the notes and just pushing it because we loved it. And then the team, from the actors to the animators to literally to the musicians, to everyone who worked on this thing, to see how much they took it on as their own and felt like it was their passion project that they were working on of their lifetime. I think when you have like a collective team doing that all together, it's just great that this is a beautiful byproduct, you know, that it was nice to be recognized and everyone gets to have a trophy or hang a plaque on their wall because of it. But at the same time, we're just joyous that we got to have the fun to make the show.
Extremely well deserved. And that being said, when are we going to have more? Please.
We were working really hard on that. You may or may not know, but Amazon stopped producing children's content after our 2nd season. So what we've been working on now is what's the transition like, because they don't make the children's content anymore. They license it. I mean, it's a little inside baseball to say something like that, but that's the way the business ended up going. So, but Oz obviously has done really well for them. And then we now are working with others to start to get the show out there more. Oz is playing in about 100 different countries around the world now on various networks. It's actually launching in Disney Japan this month for the first time.
That's huge.
Disney Germany, it's playing all over South America. It's rolling out slowly all around the world. So it's new to a lot of people right now. And that's really exciting to us as well. And so we actually already have written the next 3 episodes, so we know where it's going from here. We actually have great ideas of where the whole series would go from here.
Tori and I are available to proof those if you need. No pressure. What about doing like a movie version or a feature length? Have you guys talked about other kinds of spin-off type things too?
Absolutely, yeah. We'd love to make like a holiday special. That's something we've really thought about. kind of harkening back to the way like the movie used to come out on TV during the holiday season earlier on in its lifespan. But yeah, we would love to make movies. We love these characters. We love the world. We just feel like we could go forever with it.
The show features the Bureau of Magic, which exists in your world of Oz. And I love that you're actually doing some of my favorite merchandise are prop replicas. And you've done this really beautiful Glinda mug that we see featured in the show. You have the amazing magical Dorothy's journal, which is so great with the magic here. And when you open it up, you've got the Go Forth, which if you think that when I first got this and opened the box and didn't start saying that out loud, you're crazy. Even though I'm in my 40s and enjoying it. But then there's also the map is in here and really, really great illustrations. So this is great. But you are also so fun in your packaging. I mean, when I got the box, you know, you've got the Bureau of Magic evidence tape here. You have an Emerald City postcard that's fantastic. So I just want to congratulate you again. Your attention to detail and your merchandising is so great. How did you get to do that on your own? I think that's a really ambitious project.
It's something that, again, starting with the inspiration from Baum himself, the idea of transmedia, that there's no wasted space, there's no wasted surface. Everything is playable storytelling possibility. And so if you look in the background of the show, there are Easter eggs, there are little things, little plants that maybe get paid off, maybe don't. And I think that same concept goes through to absolutely everything that we want to do with this show. And so, if the box itself that comes in the mail can tell a story, let's do that. If the insert inside can help tell that story, let's make it as fun and interactive and full of life as we can, because why not? It's better than just a box.
Absolutely.
Will there be a Tin Man comic book series?
Eventually, yes. We're working hard on that. And we just started a new thing that we're really excited about, which is 3D printing toys of our characters. We love the concept of 3D printing, and it really feels like I think Dorothy would do, our Dorothy would do. So we literally just started creating these 3D printed toys that kids, if they have a 3D printer, can start printing action figures. And it's beautiful because we have the ability to roll out all the different characters, and kids can mix and match and play around with it that way. And then we're also doing like the props in the show because we have the models already built for the animation, and they, now kids can make their own props for themselves to play with Oz stuff.
Can you show us the other pieces?
We also have Dorothy's surveying scope, which actually telescopes out. That's coming, and we're literally downstairs right now printing out the very first Ojo's magic box. So remember when he presents the magic box to Dorothy? You too can have a Ojo's magic box, and we're gonna have all the different elements start to roll out as well, so the kids can print out their own elements. And it's fun because this printer food comes in glow in the dark and it's color changing. Actually, we have a West here right now that we're playing around with, that she can change her color. And we just got the Ojo model in about 5 minutes before we started this interview.
There's Toto, right? Awesome.
Yeah.
What's so fun is, when we worked with our design team, we always said we want the feel to be like you could just reach in the screen and pull out the toys. We wanted it to have that feel, and so here we are using the actual designs, the actual models to make toys that it makes it feel like you've done that.
I just want to thank you for taking a show and that comes from a source material that has so many feminist icons, and bringing that into such an accessible space for families. To see so many powerful young women on screen is just such an inspiration to me as a mother and to my 7-year-old daughter, to give her those role models. Just thank you so much for that. It's such a gift.
That's so kind. Thank you.
Very cool.
That means a lot to us when we were really conceiving of what this modern day Dorothy would be. This budding engineer, a tinkerer, a STEAM-minded kid who, we always said that her greatest strength and her greatest weakness are both that she can never let a problem go unsolved. That's who she is at her core. And so it was absolutely crucial to us that in writing both Dorothy and West, you know, you said Dorothy will never need to be saved. She's the one doing the saving. You know, she'll never be a damsel in distress. She is a problem solver through and through, and will stop at nothing until she solves that problem, whether that's getting home or solving the magic crisis or what have you. You know, she's our hero.
The work is brilliant. Jared, Darren, Mark, thank you all for your time today. It's really been so exciting to get the opportunity to meet you even virtually. And everyone, please go check out Lost in Oz, now available streaming for free on Amazon Prime Video. Check it out on other platforms all across the world.